Tonight on the Black Channel, we take a look at your attempts to make everybody happy with you. The Black Channel is live. Unapologetic, unadulterated, and absolutely uncompromising. Greetings, brothers and sisters from around the world, and welcome back to the home, the haven, the stronghold, and the everlasting superfortress of intelligent black thought. We are the Black Media, and this is the Black Channel. And I am your host, your brother, your humble servant, the voice of Black America, the Black Authority, broadcasting to you live from the only historically black college university of higher education and learning in the cosmos. You are, of course, welcome to join us. And join us you shall, because on tonight's program here, we're going to be dealing with a number of different things. So I'm glad you all were able to join us as we go ahead and take a look into this. And, you know, our brother Meek Mill, he has been a stalwart. Our brother Meek Mill, he has certainly done everything in his power here to elevate himself as a black man. But there are some lessons that he's either not aware of or disregarding. As you all know, he recently took a trip to Ghana, or at least you may be aware. Meek Mill recently took a trip to Ghana. He was trying to build bridges, and they picked up his olive branch and tried to bust him over the head with it, basically, is what occurred. So you have a situation where Meek Mill went there to go see them. He went there, he was showing love, and they wanted to act like the presidential palace was some type of church, which is absolutely ludicrous, absolutely insane. And Meek Mill caught a lot of flack for that and whatnot from them, to the point that he was trying to apologize or make up to him or this, that, and the other. And it appears that he kind of settled on something else. As you can see on your screen here, he kind of settled on something else. And it appears that what he attempted to settle on was the idea that, well, hey, I need an African artist for my next album cover. I have my title. So Meek Mill is trying to be peacemaker. Meek Mill is trying to please haters. Meek Mill is trying to please people who have a problem with you intrinsically. And even in this attempt, as you all saw on my Twitter page, I was like, bruh, we see what you're trying to do, but this is not going to gain their respect. And sure enough, if you go to his Twitter page, what you'll see there, when you take a look at the comments, next thing you know, you got a bunch of folk trying to give out names of artists. Oh, what do you know? We only made it 4 comments down before you get here. What happened to Shatta Wale's recommendation when you came to Ghana? Hope it's not the video shoot debacle that's taking your mind away from Ghana. Really? In case you're wondering, yeah, Chief, the Africa web, the Ghana web, Cameroon web, Tanzania web, the My Nigeria. So, yeah, that didn't take terribly long. Now did it? And you go to his page and you can see here that apparently he was a bit confused. So other foreign flags are trying to get him straight. It's like, we think he means a visual artist, not a rapper, not a music artist, but an artist to do artwork, painting or drawn artwork, not a dancer. So artwork creators, not musicians, man. So just that quickly, Meek Mill's trying to do the right thing. No good deed goes unpunished. No good deed goes unpunished. Here's another person here. Oh, I got a rapper mind for you. So this turned into Nigerian listen to my demo. Basically, Meek Mill put something out there, and this basically turned into Rwandan listen to my demo. So go here. Hey, let's work together. He's got a check mark and 1,100 followers. Did he pay for his? He has a blue check mark with 1,100 followers. For some reason, I find it hard to believe. So I find it hard to believe. All right, some other folks are throwing up their artwork. They like this. Oh, their son does art. They like that. Gang. Oh, they like that. That's great there. What is this? Mr. King Cello, another check mark. He got 44,000 subscribers. Fitness, not to be confused with finesse, cruise, flex, style, I own. You basically want African artists to apply or show interest in that slot, and you'd select from the applicants. They play. Really? I mean, think about that for a few moments there. Really? All right. Didn't take very long there for that to happen. And when you go through the comments, like I say, definitely you'll find more of them in there like that. Certainly on my page, there were some folks trying to hate on the idea as well. You can go there on my Twitter page and take a look at it. Trying to please the haters, you're trying to please everyone, and that is a very tricky game to try to play. It's a very tricky game to try to play, and I'm wondering if Meek gets it. I'm just a little curious if he gets it, because he's had situations in the past where somebody had to, pull his coat, try to pull his coat and let him know, hey, you're heading in the wrong direction. This Minaj chick, heading in the wrong direction, bro. Maybe he needs a little bit of time, because I'm kind of wondering what's powering this. I'm kind of wondering what is powering this. What is powering this? Where's this coming from? Kind of wondering what's powering this. Where is this coming from? Oh boy. Oh. Well, I'm kinda wondering here. I'm just thinking to myself. I'm kind of just thinking to myself here. And I'm curious if our brother gets it. I'm kind of curious whether or not he gets it. I'm hoping he does, but I'm not so sure. I'm not so sure that he got the memo. First comment on here was from Mike Baggs. 142,000 subscribers, 142,000 followers. Standing up, hashtag FBA. He simply asked a simple question: define brown. Define brown, brother. Define brown. I know Meek is trying to move in different circles. I know Meek trying to move a certain kind of way now, and I get it. That's not lost on me. I get it. I'm just wondering if this is going to get Meek to his preferred destination. He seems to be under the impression that it will. Forgive me. I'm a little skeptical whether this is going to get to the preferred destination. I'm kind of skeptical whether or not that can actually happen. So definitely that's going to be the kind of thing that is going to make an impression on other folks. That's going to leave an impression on other folks. We all understand what's going on. He went to Ghana and he was trying to build bridges and they slapped his hand back, and sure enough, he's trying to let the world know, hey, I'm with y'all. I'm down. I'm with y'all. That is not the way the power works, Meek. The way power works is you hold firm and you tell them that they got to change what they're doing. Dude, you the bag. You the name. They need to be changing and altering what they're doing to fit you. You're not supposed to be changing and altering what you do to fit them. You're not leading right now. They're all over there soaking up our culture, our steez, our methods and behaviors. That's what you're supposed to be an ambassador of. You are not going to win friends with these people by trying to show them that you're trying to get their approval. Mutual respect means you don't kowtow and start begging and scraping for their approval. It's not what you do. That doesn't make you look more friendly. It just makes you look weak. Then they start telling you things like, yeah, that's the thing right there. You'll see, Ghana got it going on. Forget that Philadelphia. Philadelphia ain't got nothing on Ghana. And through your actions, when you start doing things like that, that's the impression they walk away from. When you are dealing with a group that is harboring animosity and disdain and hostility for you, that's the way it goes. Meek is trying to build bridges. Meek is trying to build bridges, and I can understand what he's trying to do, but you can't build bridges to folks who are shooting arrows at you. You can't build bridges to folks who are shooting arrows at you. That's the issue. So Brother Meek Mill is trying to do it, y'all. He's trying to make it work in real time. You're witnessing it. You're watching it. And there's a lot that we can learn from this. There's a lot that we can learn from this. By the way, if you all agree that if you want respect, you don't get it by trying to please other people, you get it by standing firm in yourself, and other people will respect that. If you believe that, give me the thumbs up in the chat room and hit the likes button for me. It's a Sunday night and there's already over 3,000 people. We barely been on 10 minutes. It's already over 3,000 of you. I don't know. Some of y'all might be Ghanaian up in here and you're not liking what you're hearing. I'm going to open up the phone lines in a little bit so you can go ahead and weigh in if that's the case. It seems like that might be the case, but if y'all are on deck and if y'all are on code, give me that thumbs up and hit the likes button for me. It's over 3,000 people. I want to do an in-depth study and investigation here tonight. I want to do an in-depth study and investigation here tonight about expanding on this idea of not being able to please folks if they're harboring hostility toward you, and put this in its proper context. Now, earlier today in Monterey Park, California, a place that I've been through only a couple of times. I didn't stop. I drove through it a couple of times. You know, it's a nice place there. I mean, it's not a megalopolis. It's good to be outside of main LA, but it's, you know, nice place. Don't get me wrong. It's cool and everything. It's cool. There was a shooting there. It looked like there was a mass shooting, and there were 10 people dead, which is, you know, a very horrific thing. Very horrific thing. They were celebrating the Lunar New Year, and somebody just broke out busting, which was the thing about it. So, story here from ABC 7.
Police were in a standoff with a... Good evening, guys. And we just learned police were in a standoff with a man in a white van they believe to be the suspect. And we just learned that man died from a self-inflicted gunshot wound.
Overnight, 10 people killed and at least 10 injured in a mass shooting near Los Angeles.
I got approximately 10 deceased.
Crews rushing to the scene outside this dance studio, treating victims in the parking lot. Survivors rush to the hospital. Authorities say their condition ranged from critical to stable.
When officers arrived at the location, they observed numerous victims and patrons in the business parking lot. Additional officers made entry into the business and located numerous gunshot victims.
Witnesses described the terror.
It sounded like a very heavy artillery weapon. It was just
and heartbreak.
We're safe. I'm scared. We feel so safe, but how come? What happened?
The shooter going on a violent rampage inside the Stardance studio. Moments before the deadly attack, people in this predominantly Asian American community celebrating the Lunar New Year nearby. Authorities say they are investigating if a second incident at another ballroom in a neighboring suburb is tied to the shooting. So far, investigators not saying if the attack was a racial hate crime. The FBI is now involved.
As we're looking for this suspect, we will not forget the victims and survivors. And it's important because you can just imagine the trauma that they've experienced.
Leaders reacting to the nation's deadliest mass shooting so far this year. California Governor Gavin Newsom releasing this statement in part. Our hearts mourn as we learn more about the devastating acts of last night.
Karen Ravi, investigators are still trying to determine the motive in this situation and if the suspect knew the victim.
Okay. So certainly this is a tragedy. Absolutely. This is a terrible thing. And of course, you have to have sympathy and your heart goes out for these folks here. They're just at a party and they're just doing their thing and somebody opens up fire and things. And congratulations to the brother, Mr. Pullman here doing the story because you see how he opened it.
Good evening, guys. And we just learned police were in a standoff with a man in a white van they believe to be the suspect. And we just learned that man died from a self-inflicted gunshot wound.
Overnight, 10 people killed and at least 10 injured in a mass shooting near Los Angeles.
I got approximately 10 deceased.
Crews rushing to the scene outside this dance studio, treating victims in the parking lot. Survivors rushed to the hospital. Authorities say their condition ranged from critical to stable.
When officers arrived at the location, they observed numerous victims and patrons in the business parking lot. Additional officers made entry into the business and located numerous gunshot victims.
Witnesses described the terror.
it sounded like a very heavy artillery weapon. It was just
and heartbreak.
We're safe. I'm scared. We feel so safe, but how come? What happened?
The shooter going on a violent rampage inside the Stardance studio. Moments before the deadly attack, people in this predominantly Asian American community celebrating the Lunar New Year near.
So he mentioned that it's a predominantly Asian American community. Well, I wish I could tell you that folks waited, or I wish I could tell you people trying to be objective, but of course, as soon as that happened, you start seeing the Stop Asian Hate is what you start seeing. You start seeing that. And what that tells you is that the folks who were saying that didn't even investigate anything, didn't look into anything. There's a reason why you all haven't seen me say very much about the teacher who got shot in Virginia by the 6-year-old. Investigate things a little bit more and, see what's going on a little bit more. Find out what's going on a little bit more, although they tended to be sparse about information. The sheriff himself even said in another piece there from NBC I was watching on MSNBC, the sheriff was talking about the suspect when they finally had one and said, it's Asian male, as if that matters. Well, it certainly does matter if he's out here shooting people. Yes, he's on the loose. It certainly does matter. Yes, if we're trying to find the suspect, yes, that certainly does matter. Yes, it does. Now, when you play that article, that news story that I was playing, this is the screen that comes up in the viewer before the video starts playing. This is what comes up before it started playing. So you can see they video pictures of the suspect. What this tells you is they already knew who it was. This tells you they already knew who it was. They already knew who it was and didn't say very much about it. But they let the Stop Asian Hate train at least leave the station. They let it leave the station. I was looking at this, and I couldn't help but think that, boy, this sure did sound familiar to me. This sounded very familiar to me because this cat doesn't look very young. This looks like an older dude. This looks like an older dude with the old man glasses. So this cat looks kind of old here. Looks kind of old. And I got to thinking about it, that this all struck me as very, very familiar, very, very familiar, very, very, oh yeah, this did strike me as very familiar. I was going back through my mental Rolodex, and this struck me as familiar. There was another incident in California, another mass shooting in California that I remembered. Now, I didn't post this on my social media, but by the way, I remembered this. Now, this was from May of 2022. But I remembered it. I remembered what I saw, and I was like, well, this looks very familiar to me. An older Asian male who has walked up amongst a group of other Asians and opened fire. And I said to myself, that's not looking good. It's not looking good. Not looking good at all. So this is the kind of thing I want you to be aware of here, because we're going to walk through this tonight, and I want you to understand that when other folks are saying certain things, there's a reason why we slow walk it. Make sure we have our facts lined up. Make sure we're ready here. Make sure we're ready here. Because this is the kind of thing that going forward here, we got to be looking at. Because they were sitting up here saying to stop Asian hate before they even thought about anything. So you know who they're throwing aspersions on. And just because it didn't go off the way they would have liked doesn't mean that we won't see this come back. It doesn't mean that. Now, I went to go looking around because I wanted to see what was going on here. And I wanted to see, because when this case happened, when this particular case happened here with Mr. His name is David Winwei Chow. That's a 68-year-old David Winwei Chow. That's the name of the individual who shot up the at Laguna Woods. It was a Taiwanese church. Basically, this guy is a card-carrying Chinese communist, and he sees the separatists, or at least the Taiwanese, as being separatists and that they need to be violently put down. He's been charged with a hate crime. Mr. Chow has been charged with a hate crime. Understand that. He's Asian. The people he shot are Asian, but he's been charged with a hate crime. No word about if this individual here, whether this killing will be marked as a hate crime, but certainly Mr. Chow has been labeled as having committed a hate crime. He's on trial for murder with hate crime enhancements. So I went to go looking at the Asian American Pacific Islander Equity Alliance. They've been very, very vocal. You've probably seen some of their other work. We'll come back to that in a moment. But I thought this would be a good opportunity because I wanted to see what they had to say about this particular incident. I wanted to see what they had to say about it. And the truth of the matter is, they didn't really have a whole lot to say. But there's some other things that they have said, and we'll come back to that in just a moment. In case you all were not familiar with them, I thought this would be a good opportunity to get familiar. If you go to check out their mission statement, I want you to check this out. It says, our mission, the AAPI Equity Alliance, is dedicated to improving the lives of Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders through civic engagement, capacity building, and public policy advocacy. Okay, so far so good. Our history before the beginning of AAPI equity, the history of social services in the Asian American community has a relatively brief time frame. Although social services were being conducted by ethnic churches and other welfare service programs, such as the Shonyan Children's Orphanage, which began in the Japanese American community in the early 1900s, the concept of an Asian American Federation or umbrellas of services is relatively new. As an aftermath of the 1965 Watts riots, and as a part of the free expression spirit of the 60s, there was an awakening to the need for service programs in the API community, although back then, APIs were still referred to as Orientals. So take a look at where they're saying they got their start from. They are referencing our actions, specifically our actions in Watts. Or are they going to say that there were Asians stomping in the streets in Watts in 1965? I'm wondering if they're going to try to say that there were Asians stomping in the streets in 1965 in Watts. I'm just wondering if that's the insinuation. Folks, let me tell you, when you investigate this, there's layers on top of layers. You all are going to learn some things tonight. It goes on to say here that the first Asian American Federation was the Council of Oriental Organizations, COO, which was formed by staff of the County Human Relations Commission in 1968. COO organized the first gathering of APIs at a conference called Asians Coming Together 1 or Act 1, which took place at UCLA in July of 1968 and formed the basis to begin seeking funding and programming to serve the API communities. At the time, there were very few groups serving the API community, but soon new groups began to form. SSG had been around since the 1950s, but in the 1970s, many new groups began to form. These include such agencies as Chinatown Service Center, PACE, AADAP, KYCC, and ARS. Others formed early but later faded away. It was within this environment of new groups forming and coalescing to form an Asian American Federation that A3PCON was born. In January 1975, there was a meeting called Pacific Asians Coming Together, PACT, which was a follow-up to Act 1. PACT was called to organize the API communities, and a number of committees were formed. This effort eventually led towards the creation of APCON. Now, you see there, they also have an AAPI equity timeline. What I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and post the link to it here in the chat room. I think you'll all find that to be very interesting going forward. Jason, why in the world are you going through this? Because I'm going to bring us here in a little bit. Hang on to your hats. Among other things, though, what else does AAPI do here? Because there's supposed to be folks here, and if you take a look here, initiatives, Stop AAPI Hate. So if you're wondering where this comes from, on AAPI Equity Alliance's website, their initiatives, Stop AAPI Hate. All right. So if you want to know where that comes from, Stop Asian Hate, now you know where it connects. But, You cannot have a mission without resources. And that's usually what funds these things, because when you see people grafting on and invoking the legitimate grievances and the legitimate work and the piggybacking on the struggle of Black Americans from the experience of slavery, when you see that happening, your ears need to go up, because we see where it starts. When it starts like this, we know where it ends. Stop the Hate Grant. And as you can see here from the same website, Stop the Hate Grant. Oh boy. Well, I wonder where this goes. AAPI, Equity Alliance, is the Los Angeles County regional lead for the state of California's Stop the Hate Grant. Did you hear that? Los Angeles County regional lead. The regional lead for the state of California's Stop the Hate Grant, administered through the California Department of Social Services, administered through the California Department of Social Services. This grant funds 80 organizations throughout California to provide direct services, prevention services, and intervention services for victims of hate. We're going to come back to this victims of hate thing here in a little bit. Hang on to your hats. You are going to get 720 degrees, the 10 tons of analysis you will receive nowhere else. In Los Angeles County, 24 organizations were awarded a total of $4 million to develop and provide services and programs to combat hate. Although many of these organizations were founded to serve the Asian American community, their focus has also extended to other ethnic and racial groups in their local area. Folks, if you want to break it down there, you divide that 4 million by 24, that breaks down to like $166,000 each. But that's only if you assume that the money was divided equally across these 24 organizations. But anybody who's worked in nonprofits and grants and things knows that's not the way that these kind of grants work. That's not the way they work. So it's not that the money is going to be distributed equally. Whoever's got the biggest name or biggest reach or whatever, usually they're going to get the lion's share and everybody else is going to get a little bit chipped off. But they're letting you know this is public money administered through the California Department of Social Services. Here's $4 million. $4 million. Black folk been getting the brakes, rotors, and windshields beat off their asses for over half a century in Los Angeles and ain't been able to get a free Dixie cup. These folks here, here's $4 million. And when you hear what their grievances are, you'll be like, black folk don't even have it nearly this good. Nearly this good. But when you go down through here, you see a bunch of stuff here. And by the way, I just find it to be very interesting when you see this kind of stuff here. The Asian Youth Center. Okay, serving all youth since, it says serving all youth and families since 1989. All youth? Does that include black kids? Serving all youth? Does that include black kids? I see Asian kids. Does that include the black ones? Serving all youth and families. I'm skeptical. California Conference for Equality and Justice. Not liking the way this sounds already. Not liking it already. Pretty sure we take a look into this and we are not going to like what we see. Not liking it already. Cambodia Town. Okay, now they got a problem with Black Town, but there's a Cambodia Town? Well, clearly there is. All right. I don't necessarily have an issue with that. Let's see what Cambodia Town is doing here since they got some grant money. Cambodia Town seems to be experiencing some technical difficulties on their website. The URL is correct, but I'm a little skeptical. I'm a little skeptical. Okay, I couldn't help but notice they got the money. You got the website posted, but I'm just trying to figure out what's going on. Center for Asian Americans United for Self-Empowerment, or CAUSE. All these great acronyms that made out of words. All these great acronyms made out of words. All right. You got your money here. Oh, shucky ducky. Well, that didn't take terribly damn long now, did it? That didn't take terribly damn long at all, did it? Oh man, I think I figured out why black folks in California was catching them blows from Sister Girl Harris. You see, these folks do not accept her as an Asian, but they know that they can use her. They do not accept her, but they know that they can use her. They know they can use her. No wonder. Yeah, big ass piece of the puzzle just fell in your laps. Now didn't it? And by the way, the reason why I'm clicking through these links is so nobody can accuse me of screenshotting or whatever, making phony screenshots. You can go straight to their website. As a matter of fact, let me go ahead and give you all the link to the Stop the Hate grant page. Go ahead and check that out for yourselves. Dignity Health St. Mary Medical Center. Okay. Faith and Community Empowerment. Khmer Girls in Action. So you talk about Cambodia, you're talking about the Khmer Rouge and Pol Pot, brother number one, brother number two. So Khmer Girls in Action. Kind of curious about that first frame I saw there. Khmer Girls in Action, because it looked like there was more than just girls on one of those pages, but all right. The Khmer Girls in Action. Yeah, there it was. Okay. And I don't think those are girls. Not so sure those are girls, especially this one over here. I think that's a girl, but I'm just saying, Khmer, all right. So what I'm saying is, think about this for a moment. Our mission is to build a progressive and sustainable Long Beach community that works for racial, gender, and economic justice, led by Southeast Asian women and youth. And I submit to you all that this is the agenda. That there will be a Long Beach, there will be a Los Angeles, there will be a San Diego, there will be a San Francisco, there will be an Oakland, there will be a Sacramento, and black people will be in it, but you will not lead. And they are saying it outright. Oh, you'll be here, but you will not lead. Do you understand that I'm not showing you somebody else's website? I'm showing you their own words. Oh, there will be these communities, there will be these cities and places, but we will be leading you. Long Beach, better stand up. Long Beach ain't looking good. And they throwing around, y'all got to understand, these are your tax dollars at work. 4 million. These are your tax dollars at work. The Korean American Coalition of Los Angeles. Let's take a peek under the hood. Educate, embrace, empower. It's a 501c3 established in 1983 to promote the civic and civil rights interests of the Korean American community. KAC endeavors to achieve these goals through education, community organizing, leadership development, and coalition building with diverse communities. Folks, When have Koreans ever had a hard time in the city of Los Angeles? Someone explain to me, when have Koreans ever had a hard time or difficulty in the city of Los Angeles? When has that ever occurred? By the way, donate now. Okay, we already gave from the tax dollars, but here, donate a little bit more because, we could take that. The Korean American Federation of Los Angeles. Boy, the Koreans are front and center. Go to the English site. Yes, I think I will. I think I must. I don't think I got a choice in the matter. So, waiting for your website to come up. Is the server in Seoul? This is taking a minute now. I got a fiber optic connection. This is taking a minute. Where is their website based out of? Are they downloading malware to my computers or something? Where can I go to the English website, please? Go to the English site. Yes, please. Can we actually go? Okay, it looked like we ain't moving. All right, I'll just post that in the chat room. Maybe you all have better luck than I did. The Korean Immigrant Workers Advocates of Southern California. Kiwa. Click here to read Kiwa's statement on comments by LA City Council members and LA Fed President. All right. Founded in 1992. Espanol. Hey, I found that coalition y'all been looking for all this time. Here's Espanol. Here is Korean language. I found the coalition, y'all. Took me a minute, but I found it. Black History Month 2019. Should I tell them or should y'all tell them? Black History Month 2019. Is this supposed to be your token support? Is this supposed to be the token support? What to do if ICE comes to your workplace? I ain't got nothing to worry about. They ain't coming for me. If ICE comes to my workplace, I'm going to continue working. They're not coming for me. If ICE comes to my workplace, you see the illegals? Yeah, they're back there behind that sign. They're back there in the back of the building by the dumpster. I don't have anything to worry about. Nothing at all. Just curious here. Oh, take a look at that. Oh, boy. Take a look at Kiwa. Statement by the LA City Council members and LA Fed President. In the past few days, Angelinos heard tapes from an October 2021 meeting between LA City Council President Nuri Martinez, LA City Council members Kevin DeLeon and Gil Cedillo, and LA County Federation of Labor President Ron Herrera. LA County Federation of Labor President Ron Herrera, the Kiwa Workers for Justice. Oh, hell. The workers and laborers, we in trouble here. The anti-black racism and homophobia. Oh, there it is. The anti-black racism and homophobia in service of their political maneuvers make clear they are unfit to lead Los Angeles. Following the resignation last night of Mr. Herrera, Kiwa calls upon the 3 council members to resign immediately. Based in Koreatown, Kiwa unites and organizes Korean, Latino, and other workers. Many of them Oxyconn. Okay, we getting deep off into it. To fight shoulder to shoulder across racial and ethnic lines for better workplaces and communities. Council member Martinez's anti-indigenous comments about Oxyconns in K-Town are a racist overlay to the dismissive treatment of Koreatown, 90% people of color, as political meat to be carved up at will by council members in the redistricting process. Beyond the unethical and potentially illegal behavior implied in the comments, the short-sightedness of politicians who do not recognize our multiracial community's growing political strength, our multiracial community's growing political strength, Which community is that? People, I did not bring you receipts. I brought you invoices. I did not tell you what you paid. I tell you what you owe. Politicians who do not recognize our multiracial communities' growing political strength would be breathtaking if it weren't so offensive. It is also telling that none of the four challenged the comment that a renter's district would be inimical to their interests. The tapes display brazen efforts to dilute Koreatown's tenant voting power. As co-developer of an affordable housing project in K-Town, where over 9 in 10 residents live, Kiwa believes that dividing tenant voices for political gain is anti-Latino, anti-immigrant, and anti-worker. Now, I led you through this screed because do you see how long it's been? How long it's been since the word black was used in this incident. Everybody in the world was talking about the anti-black racism. Kiwa has some words to say. They mentioned black folk and then scared the car right off the road to discuss Korean, Latino, everything else. And then at the end, and as if we needed more evidence, their words are another indicator of how deep anti-black racism and homophobia run in our society, our communities, and our bodies. Let's be very, very clear here, folks. If they were so concerned about homophobia, explain to me that while they were sitting up here talking about Korean and Latino, this person, whoever wrote this, went through all this explanation, didn't mention homosexual Koreans, didn't mention LGBT Latinos, didn't say anything about homophobia when referencing themselves. But when coming to us, it's not just, it's black and homophobic, anti-black and homophobic. So there's your word from Kiwa. I'm sure they will use their grant money from your tax dollars very, very well. I'm sure they will. I'm sure they will. Koreatown Youth and Community Center. Hello to the youths. All right. Lots of youths. Look like everybody but black folk. Okay. Need unemployment or small business assistance. We'll take a hit of that. Oh, Community Economic Development COVID-19 Resources from 2020. Y'all, this would be a damn joke if this weren't a real website. This would be a damn joke if it wasn't a real website. How to apply for EDD, unemployment, disability, paid family leave here. Okay, but I'm having trouble with the rest of their page and the instructions. I'm having trouble with I'm trying to get some help. I came here for some help and I'm having some. Can I press 1 for English? Sir, can I press 2 for English? 3? Is there a button we can press for English right now? I'm a little lost. Oh, sure, we'd be glad to help you. Good. Fill out this form. What the deep fat fried hell? Yeah, go ahead and just fill out this form. What? It's for everybody, though. It's for everybody if you can read it. Sure it is. Absolutely. All right. There you go. This would be comedy if it wasn't a real website. This would be comedy if it wasn't a real website. The Changemaker newsletter. The Changemaker newsletter. All right. 2021 annual report. All right, they're out doing their Tai Chi. That's cool. Changing Tides nonprofit. I'm not accepting cookies, cupcakes, or anything else. Never mind. strengthening Little Tokyo, helping seniors, building affordable housing. Well, let's start there. Little Tokyo wants to build affordable housing. Well, we can all agree on this, can't we? Facing LA's housing crisis, LTSC builds and acquires property for rehabilitation in order to put affordable housing within reach of Angelenos. Okay, sounds cool to me. Starting in 1993, LTSC, Little Tokyo Service Center, has been building affordable housing in Little Tokyo in addition to community facilities and commercial space. LTSC's projects in Little Tokyo include the Far East Building, a rehabilitation of a red-tagged historic building into 16 units of affordable housing and 2 commercial storefronts. Where is the Far East Building? Is this accessible to Black Angelenos? Are Black Angelenos accessible to the Far East Building? The San Pedro Firm Building, a 1923 building threatened with demolition by the city that now provides 42 units of affordable housing to low-income seniors. Low-income seniors. Low-income seniors. And I'm wondering, who are the low-income seniors? Are these our low-income seniors? I'm wondering. Call me cynical in my old age, but I'm just wondering, were those the seniors you were referring to shortly there before, sir? And Casa Hewa, which provides 100 units of affordable housing for both seniors and young families. For more information, please contact Takao Suzuki. I don't think that Mr. Takao Suzuki is related to Mr. Jamal Suzuki. I don't think that Mr. Takao Suzuki is related to Takao Jenkins. For some reason, I don't believe that's the case. I'm skeptical. Call me what you will. I'm a little skeptical. Your tax dollars at work. I'm only going to go through a couple more of these, but by the way, you start to see some different things show up. The Filipinos got theirs in here too. So search to involve Filipino Americans. If you got to look for them, that's my first thing as well. We have to look for them. Is that an issue here? All right. New year, new programs. Register today. Join our upcoming programs for mental health, youth education, and health and wellness. This year, SIPA is seeking to expand our programming to better serve historic Filipino town. Historic Filipino. Did you all even know there was a Filipino town? I didn't. Did you all even know that there was a Filipino town? I didn't. There's a whole Filipino town. There's a Cambodia town. Now you know there's a Filipino town. Where was Filipino town? And I missed that on the map. To the folks who live in Los Angeles, they probably know, but I missed that one on the map. That wasn't on the list of cultural tourist sites. So I'm like, is it a whole town or is it just a block? How do we miss that? By the way, parenting our LGBTQ plus youth in partnership with Pastor Danilo Cortez of Long Beach Community Fellowship. So that the Asian Latino Coalition is already there, came over from the Philippines, but they found fertile ground in Los Angeles and they are making it work. United Cambodian Community. Let's go see what they got going. United Cambodian Community. Let's see if we can go to their website. The United Cambodian Community. Their servers must be in Vietnam somewhere, I guess. I don't know. That's slow. I'd like to know what this means. Can't quite figure it out. I'd like to know what that means before I click on it. Little help here. Due to the spread of COVID-19, UCC has decided to close the office until further notice. We will be closed for walk-in services. All classes and workshops scheduled will all be canceled until further notice. Support Cambodia town businesses. All right. perfectly fine there. No problems whatsoever. Couldn't help but notice. Need small business support. 43 years of service, 91 businesses served, $373,000 funded to small business. Was that split evenly between the 91? By the way, they got the money, but they are not servicing any people. So they got part of the $4 million and they're not servicing anyone. You saw what it said. Hey, don't even walk in the front door. We ain't talking to nobody right now. We ain't talking to nobody. Go back home. By the way, cut that check. Cut that check. Somebody was there to get the check. Not there to talk to anybody. Oh, I got to say it. 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 Oh, boy. South Asian Network is a community resource serving, supporting, and advocating for the South Asian community and our programs. He threatened me with deportation and jail. I got to see this. Jaya, let's see your story. After getting married in India, I came to the U.S. on a fiancé visa. Who was your fiancé? Was your fiancé from India or was your fiancé Zaddy from America? We need more details. My husband told me once we were in California, we would marry again and apply for my paperwork together. But whenever I mentioned marriage, my husband would scream, pull my hair, and kick me. He threatened me with deportation and jail. For 1 year, he locked me in a room in the house we shared with his family. What the hell? Where did he find this woman at? What the hell? Okay, well, there you go. All right, I want to know who the husband is and where he came from. Information is missing. Information is missing here. For 1 year, he locked me in the room in the house that we shared with his family. We shared with his family. I had no phone or computer. This sounds like this might be an Indian dude. This sounds like an Indian dude, but you can't speak too carefully because remember, the white folks had, these folks didn't have black folk locked up as their slaves and everything at their houses. Some of these folk from India and the Middle East and stuff, they come over here with they Sudanese folks in tow and Africans in tow, and then you're still a slave. Yes, we live in Sacramento, but you're still a slave. I had no phone or computer. I couldn't mail a letter. No, I don't think there was a post office box in the closet. No. If we went out, I had to act happily married. You couldn't get to the damn restaurant and scream, help! My husband was supposed to protect me, but I was treated worse than a servant. I wanted to leave, but my family wanted me to stay with him. They were ashamed and I felt guilty. Wait a minute. Wasn't you locked in a closet? How the hell is it your family gets a vote? You calling back to Kuala Lumpur, hey mom, dad, this bastard is beating me, he's kicking me, he feeding me once a week, he got me locked in a closet next to these clothes. I don't get to leave out the house but once every 3 months. I want to leave. Well, okay, we heard you said it's really, really bad. You know, you two should work this out. They didn't hear. That's another thing she said. I wanted to leave, but my family wanted me to stay with him. Wait a second. I had no phone or computer. This story don't add up. I know I'm not a prosecuting attorney, but I am a critical thinker. This story don't add up, y'all. I had no phone or computer. Got it. Registered. I wanted to leave, but my family wanted me to stay. How were you communicating with your family back in India? Unless your family lived in the house with y'all while he was locking you up. Unless they were like, yeah, shut the hell up, put it in that closet. Folks. Yeah, I'm trying to, where is the family? You said you didn't have a phone or a computer. You couldn't mail a letter. Well, how are you communicating with the family? A Ouija board? What were you doing? All right. After he beat me, I escaped to my neighbor's house. She called the police. Wait a minute. If I went out, I had to act happily married. You couldn't escape then? You couldn't escape then. San's role. Okay, the South Asian Network. Police and shelter contacted San for cultural and linguistic support. So they got the immigrant support. Oh, look, we can get around those pesky immigration laws now. Assisted her in filing for and securing a restraining order against her abusers. Plural, abusers, plural. Assisted her, I think this is supposed to be assisted her in obtaining citizenship. Now, she wasn't a refugee. She wasn't a refugee. Ain't she supposed to go back where she was? She wasn't a refugee. Provided her with emergency financial assistance. Assisted her in applying for a driver's license. Assisted her in creating a resume. Searching for and applying and securing a job. Assisted her in applying for a donation car. Provided her a temporary cell phone. Obama phones. There she got one of them Obama phones. Access to regular support groups. That was the last damn thing. Do y'all see what they did first? First and foremost is we got to get this money moving. She needs an interpreter, a restraining order, but just as soon as we can get his boots off her ass, assisted her in obtaining citizenship. That means money, pro bono lawyers, so she gets legal support. Provide emergency financial assistance. The dollars is moving. Driver's license, more dollars moving. Creating a resume and looking for a job, more dollars moving. A donation car, more dollars moving. Obama phones, more dollars moving. Folks, then they tried to shame us for saying cut the check. She wasn't even a citizen. She was willing to sit up here and let this man give her the damn people's elbow so that she could get over here. She chose to come here with the bastard she came with. She wasn't kidnapped. And as you can tell here, she running game. I wanted to leave. My family wanted me to stay with him. They don't get a vote. She running game. So I see through what you're saying. Y'all running game. You can't defend this. You can't defend this. We see what you're doing. So I'm just saying here, okay, the AAPI Equity Alliance. Got it. Got it. You go a little bit further down the rabbit hole here. You go a little bit further. Stop AAPI hate. How could you possibly argue with this? I don't think anybody, if you have an issue with stopping AAPI hate, who the hell are you? Who the hell are you? Who the hell's got a problem with that? Report a hate incident. Not bad. Not bad. They even give you a bunch of languages that you can report it in. One of them is English. The rest of it is everything else. We got everything under the sun covered, so they are ready to deal with you. But I did a little bit more looking. And after I did a little bit more looking, some things became very, very clear to me. And what I was reading and what I was seeing, and you all have heard about AAPI for a while now, but a lot became clear and a lot jumped out at me. And I think it's going to jump out at you too, by the way. I'm going to take a very brief commercial, non-commercial break. You want to stay put because when we come back, there's more beneath the surface than you ever thought there was. More than you ever thought there was. And I'm going to give you details you have not heard anywhere else against the backdrop of this shooting in Monterey Park. As tragedy as it is, but I want to hear what AAPI has to say. So we're going to take a very brief commercial, non-commercial break. Before we do that, I want to thank everyone, and I mean everybody who has contributed to support tonight's program here. So big shout out here to the Kit Kat Man, Black First. All this Asian on Asian crime is getting out of hand. Shout out here to Veronica. Thank you very much for your support. We appreciate that. Dim Sum, HQ, Cult-Like Personality, and everyone else who has contributed to support tonight's program here. We're going to take a very brief commercial, non-commercial break. When we come back, we're about to peel, I would say the layers, but I really want to say peel the hide off this AAPI thing and put it in its proper context for future notice. This is The Black Channel.
Greetings, brothers and sisters. My name is Joe Jackson. I'm a foundational Black American, and I entered the field of IT with the goal of helping the family globally. The industry's been changing, and I've learned a lot. But how did we get here? How do we navigate issues we face in the workplace? How can we get our house in order? Read The Concept and Intricacies of Being Black in IT, now on Amazon, as well as the best-selling Guide to Being Black in IT. Go to beingblackInIT.com.
Order yours today to experience all the benefits of Ash Kickin' Natural Body Butter. With skin so smooth and soft, you'll thank us for it. Shop Ash Kickin' online. That's ASHKICKIN.com.
Higher Life Recruiting and Consulting specializes in direct placement. If your company is looking to hire top talent, or you are looking to start a new career, our network of professional recruiters can help. We provide recruiting, LinkedIn lead generation, access to our professional network, paid job postings, interviewing, and more. Check out our specialized services: information technology recruiting, STEM career consulting, sales recruiting, hiring process consulting for your business, resume writing, LinkedIn profile consultation. Follow us on Instagram and LinkedIn and get higher with us.
D23 Labs can help you find your flow. Revolutionizing healthcare to self-care. D23, making a healthier
Hi, this is Brenda Starr, creator of Poetry with a Purpose and author of the book Pressed But Not Crushed. Pressed But Not Crushed is an anthology of political poems that address current and historical issues in American descendants of slave population and African American population. The book describes slaveries and its residuals, Jim Crow segregation, social depredation, and other relevant issues to American descendants of slaves and African Americans, including the current political climate that does not address our issues.
This is The Black Channel. I am your host, your brother, your humble servant, the Black Authority. Big shout out here to my girl Brenda Starr and Roberta Fitzroy Chadwick and Ryan. You're talking about the Guaranteed Income Pilot Program out there in Long Beach. So don't worry, a lot of folk are using us to get their needs met. But I was taking a look across some things here. So to put all of this in its proper perspective, as you saw, I'm drawing a direct line between the AAPI and some of these other things going on here that they're promoting. Because I want to put this in its proper context for things that you've seen or things you haven't seen. So we go from the AAPI, who we are, our work, initiatives, Stop AAPI Hate. You go to their website here. And when you go to the AAPI Stop AAPI Hate website, you go down there and you end up here. You find something here that says Cronkite News. found that to be rather interesting. Cronkite News. And when you go there, you find this. Thought this was a rather interesting article. Wanted to take a moment here to investigate that and see how that goes. Hang on to your ears, folks. Fighting hate. Approaches range from expanding hate crime definitions to gathering data. By Selma Reyes and Hannah Kathleen Roche. News 21, December 22nd, 2022. Manjusha Kulkarni recognized discrimination as the norm in America when she was a fifth grader in Alabama. That realization, she said, changed the trajectory of her life. Kulkarni came home from school to find her mother, an Asian immigrant, devastated after a job interview with a local hospital. The all-white male panel was blunt. Quote, "Why do you foreigners come here and take all our jobs?" Her parents filed a discrimination lawsuit with help from attorneys at the Southern Poverty Law Center, which is headquartered in Alabama. They won. Kulkarni called the challenge courageous, and it taught her the value of fighting injustice. So when she saw a spike in anti-Asian hate during the COVID-19 pandemic, Kulkarni chose to fight. Kulkarni helped launch a nationwide database in 2020 to collect hate incident reports against the Asian community. As of March 2022, the Stop AAPI Hate website had recorded more than 11,500 hate incidents, which are non-criminal bias-motivated offenses. Did you all get that? Non-criminal bias-motivated offenses. But only a minuscule number of these incidents, everything from physical assaults and harassment to vandalism, are reflected in federal, state, and local databases and reporting systems. By the way, this is Miss Kulkarni. This is Miss Kulkarni. And as you can see in the description, Miss Kulkarni is the executive director of AAPI Equity Alliance. Sits outside her home in Los Angeles on July 6th. That AAPI? Yeah, that AAPI. And even though when you go to their grant page, it's very much represented by the traditional Asians you think about: Korea, South Korea, Vietnam, Cambodia, the Philippines. This is the executive director here on a website that clearly mentions that the genesis of their movement is us. 1965 Watts riots. She then moves on to Orientals, but this is the woman ringleading it. This is the one ringleading it. Bunch of you just learned something here tonight. A bunch of you just learned something here tonight. Oh, but we're not done with the lesson yet. Not done with the lesson yet. I'm going to go through this very quickly because I want you all to understand what they were talking about here, but they say that's because the system of reporting hate in America is broken. Hate crimes and incidents are severely underreported and misunderstood. The FBI's database of hate crimes has limited scope, and people across the country won't, or sometimes can't, report to law enforcement when they become a target of hate. Without a true understanding of what's happening, to whom, how often, or where, it's difficult to address hate crime and stop it, experts say. But Kulkarni isn't alone in her fight. Federal, state, and local entities are tackling hate in America in a variety of ways, from changing the definition of what constitutes hate to forming partnerships to better support victims, to launching hotlines to capture more robust data. Launching hotlines to capture more robust data. Launching hotlines to capture more robust data. How much does it cost to launch a hotline? And where you gonna get the money from to do that? Folks, I'm trying to thread all the needles here and bring it in its full focus for you. They go on to say there's no silver bullet against hate, but experts agree communities need to take a multi-pronged approach to ensure hate is reported, analyzed, and resisted. And that requires collaborating, building trust, and raising awareness. As activists and others push for police reform across the country, what Asians are victims of police violence? Hate crime reporting doesn't always make it to the top of the list of most critical reforms. Did you see that swerve? Did y'all see that swerve? As activists and others push for police reform, hate crime reporting doesn't always make it to the top of the list of most critical reforms. Did y'all get that? Did you all see that swerve? Every time we turn around, there's a swerve. Did you all catch that one? Well, as activists, black folk, and others, black folk, push for police reform, hate crime reporting doesn't make it to the top of the list of most critical reforms. Yeah, forget about the police. Y'all need to be looking at us over here. But those who study hate say maybe it should. The U.S. Department of Justice, shout out Kamala Harris, lists eliminating acts of hate as one of its highest priorities. And experts say each hate act hurts more than just the individual victim. It sends an ominous message to whole communities. Now, here's the part I want you all to pay attention to. I'm not going to do a bunch of stopping. I want you to pay attention to this part, because this is what Ms. Kulkarni has been working toward. Definitions of hate vary widely. What is a hate crime? Depends on who you ask. And I'm sure Ms. Kulkarni wants to be the authority on that. In August 2020, a man approached Hong Lee as she waited for tacos in a Los Angeles restaurant. The man asked her to have lunch with him. After Lee, a wedding ring on her finger, declined the offer, the man told her to go back to Asia using racial slurs and other derogatory terms. Did y'all get that? So she didn't like what the guy said because she turned him down for a date, and she's saying, can't we call this a hate crime? In a panic, Lee hit the record button on her phone, then did what most Americans do when feeling endangered. She called 911. Most Americans must exclude black folk, ma'am. A police officer arrived, watched the video, and told Lee the man didn't break any laws. There was nothing they could do. Under the First Amendment, the man had the right to say those words. Soon after, Lee began to speak out. She posted the video on social media, and it went viral, earning more than 21,000 likes and 5,000 comments on Instagram. 21,000 likes? Are you kidding me? The average booty model gets more than 21,000 likes, but okay. After the incident gained so much attention, Lee said Los Angeles police finally took action. They took a police report, classifying the encounter as a hate incident. Folks, she called the police and got them to classify someone saying words she didn't like. This isn't an employer who has control of her money. This isn't a domestic violence incident. This isn't a gang incident. This isn't a person working in a corporation with a superior officer or executive in the company who has power over them. A random person said something she didn't like, used words that offended her. Simply saying something to her she didn't like, she says that's supposed to be a hate crime. Now, black folk don't get this kind of protection anywhere. We don't get this kind of protection anywhere. She said, if you say something to me that I don't like, that isn't just bad language or an insult. That's a hate crime. Saying words that I don't like. That's a hate incident. That is. You know what else is a hate incident, Miss Kulkarni? Practicing hostility toward black customers who walk into Asian stores and restaurants. That's a hate incident, Miss Kulkarni. In Indian stores, that's a hate incident, Miss Kulkarni. And you haven't been very motivated about any of that. That's existed far before now. And you haven't lifted a finger. And you came from Alabama. Or at least you all ended up there. Y'all came from Alabama. You saw that happen to black folk all the time. And you said, ooh, what about Asians? When you weren't encountering those kind of problems. I want you all to understand that. Understand what they're saying here. That if you say something they don't like, simply speaking words that they don't like, that is what they're on. That's what this is about. Now, I couldn't help but notice when I went over some other things on the AAPI website, couldn't help but notice they had reports. You're figuring here, if Asians are getting shot and killed, we need to have reports. I'm looking for reports. I went to go find reports. Now, this incident here at that California church happened on May 22nd. Somebody at Stop AAPI Hate was pretty active on May 24th, 48 hours later, but didn't say a word. Didn't say anything at all about the elderly dude who shot up their church. I'm pretty sure I got that correct here. Yeah, 2 days later, they didn't say a word about the shooting at that church. Not a word. Not a word. Now, when you went to their website, you can see what they listed. I'm showing you on your screens right now. This is what they had on their website. The shooting at that California church was on May 22nd, 2022. Somebody updated their website on May 24th, 2022, but left out the part about the church shooting, left that out altogether. When you go there and click on the article, they got something else to talk about. Anti-Asian hate, social isolation, and mental health among Asian American elders during COVID-19. Does this guy qualify as an Asian American elder, 68 years old? Does he qualify? Does he qualify as an Asian American elder? They didn't say anything. The article here says from March 2020 to December 2021, 10,905 hate incidents were reported to Stop AAPI Hate. Of those incidents, 824 were reports of hate incidents against Asian American elders aged 60 and up. This national report shines a light on how the past 2 years exacerbated threats to the safety and well-being for Asian American elders ages 60 and up. Now pay attention, folks, because these are their numbers, not mine. The report also spotlights the work of San Francisco's Self-Help for the Elderly, the Center for Pan-Asian Community Services in the Greater Atlanta area, the Chinese Information and Service Center in Seattle, and the Korean Community Services of Metropolitan New York. Key findings of the report include 6 out of 10, 57.6% of incidents reported by adults aged 60 and up involved verbal harassment or shunning. People, they're telling you that shunning an Asian, in other words, not wanting to associate, you didn't say anything you didn't even say anything to them, simply treating Asians the way that many of them treat black folk who come to their stores, at their schools, that if you do it, that's a hate incident. Now, if you do it, that's a hate incident to shun somebody. If they do it, well, you need to respect their space. 1 out of 4, 26.2% of cases against adults 60 and up were physical assault. But you know what they consider to be assault. Assault can be pointing your finger in their face without even touching them. Assault could be pointing your finger in their face. I'm talking about physical assault could be pointing your finger in their face without even touching them. In 1 in 11 incidents, elders were coughed and spat upon, 7.8%. Elders reported being barred from establishments in 5.7% of incidents and having their property vandalized in 7.2% of incidents. Folks, it's illegal to not allow folk into your establishment. So were they talking about other Asians? Because they damn sure weren't talking about black folk. Who was not letting them into their establishment? By the way, I'm letting you know, were these other Asians they're referring to? Who are you talking about here? Who are you talking about? Who is not allowing you into their establishment? Who's doing that? Who's keeping you out? Who is doing anything like that? Well, folks, I'd like to tell you you've seen the worst, but no. Go ahead and get this a little bit better together here. This is also on their website. In case you needed more detail. And I know I've been going on for a while, but I wanted to give you a comprehensive look at this. 2 years and thousands of voices, what community-generated data tells us about anti-AAPI hate. Stop AAPI Hate's new report, 2 years and thousands of voices, makes clear that if you're just following news stories, you're not getting the full picture of what AAPIs are experiencing. Showcasing the nearly 11,500 hate incidents reported to Stop AAPI Hate's reporting center between March 2020 and March 31st, 2022. The report also includes findings from a 2021 national survey Stop AAPI Hate conducted in partnership with Edelman Data and Intelligence. Key findings of 2 years and thousands of voices include: non-criminal incidents comprise the vast majority of harmful hate incidents that AAPI community members experience. Folks, by their own admission, what they consider to be a hate incident doesn't even rise to the level of a criminal experience. They're saying that merely offending their sensibilities. Notice I didn't say offending them with language, offending their sensibilities. I felt shunned. Folks, let me tell y'all something. If you go to a restaurant and it takes an hour for them to seat you, you can call that them shunning you. If you go to a restaurant and they sit you down and say you got to wait for a table, and then other people come in and they seat them at a table, you can refer to that as shunning you. But that's not criminal. It may be against the law, but it's not criminal. So what they're telling you here is the vast majority of these incidents that they've been documenting aren't even criminal. Now listen to what they say next. Harassment. You thought sexual harassment was bad. Harassment is a major problem. 2 in 3, 67% of nearly 11,500 incidents involved harassment, such as verbal or written hate speech or inappropriate gestures. Now, did you all notice they didn't give you the number for the vast majority of incidents? They didn't really give you a number for what that means. They didn't give you a number, but they told you the harassment is 67%. Such as verbal or written hate speech or inappropriate gestures. People, if you live in New York City, inappropriate gestures is basically being bilingual. I've been to New York City many a moon. Inappropriate gestures, that's basically being bilingual in New York. What the hell? AAPI individuals who are also female, non-binary, LGBTQIA+, and or elderly experience hate incidents that target them for more than one of their identities at once. Did you get that? So the guy who said something that the Asian female didn't like, they would tell you that that's a twofer. Well, she's Asian and she's female. If she's Asian, female, and bisexual, they'll tell you, ooh, that's 3. She was targeted for 3 of her identities. Folks, they're trying to one-up the white LGBT community. Don't you understand that that's what they're doing? They're trying to one-up the white LGBT community. That's what they're doing. Did you all get that? They're trying to one-up the white LGBT community. They're going to say here that 1 in 3, 32% of parents who participated in the Stop AAPI Hate Element Data and Intelligence Survey were concerned about their child being a victim of anti-AAPI hate or discrimination in unsupervised spaces and on the way to school. So in other words, getting teased. That could qualify. Notice, I didn't say getting called a name because you're Asian. If anything of any type happens to your kid, well, that's Asian hate. Hate happens everywhere, in both large cities and small towns, in AAPI enclaves, and in places where AAPI communities are few and far between. Yes, hate does happen, especially in Asian enclaves when black folks show up. Hate certainly does. I got to thinking about that. And I got to thinking about that because, folks, what led me here was that while these people had plenty to say, they didn't have a hell of a whole lot to say when you get to this point. Support for Monterey Park. This is their piece on support for Monterey Park. If you or someone you know is in need of trauma support, please view and share this document and resources. What does AAPI Equity have to say? Last night, a mass shooting occurred in Monterey Park, resulting in the deaths of 10 individuals and injuring 10 others. Our hearts go out to the victims and their loved ones experiencing loss during a time of union. For this tragedy to happen so close to home, in a majority AAPI neighborhood, and on Lunar New Year's Eve is truly shocking. We are devastated by the violence in our communities. Hearing news like this day in and day out is infuriating. We know that all too well, but we also know that the AAPI community is certainly not alone facing it. Let me read that last sentence again. We are devastated by the violence in our communities. Hearing news like this day in and day out is infuriating. Day in and day out? News like this? News like what, Miss Kulkarni? News like What? The Lunar New Year reminds us of the importance of coming together to not only celebrate, but to heal. We invite you to take this opportunity to hold your loved ones close, reaffirming the values of love, inclusion, and acceptance, and to recommit to the fight against senseless violence, hate, and discrimination. What? You just added a term in there, ma'am. You just added a term in there. Senseless violence? The issue is senseless violence? Senseless violence, hate, and discrimination. Senseless violence, hate, and discrimination. While she sits there and tells you that the thing that they're taking a look at is this happens day in and day out. Day in and day out. Day in and day out. Certainly, I speak for all of us when I say that this is a tragedy, and certainly your condolences go to these people and their families. Nobody shows up for a party anywhere thinking that somebody is just going to run up and start shooting everyone. No one does that. This will not be called Asian on Asian hate. This will not be called Asian on Asian crime. This will not be called anything of the sort. That won't be what they say. That's not going to be what they say. They're not going to say that there's problems in the Asian community. They're not going to say that the problem is Asian culture. They're not going to say that the problem is all that Asian rap music, China Mac. They're not going to say any of those things. You know why? Because you would be probably wrong and ill-advised to say any of those things. To sit up here and say the problem is Asian culture, you'd probably be wrong to say that. But that is not the treatment that we get. That's not the treatment that we receive. And if you listen to the media, they would have you thinking that every Asian in America is hiding under a table somewhere and they're worried about black folk coming through. And meanwhile, I'm sitting up here showing you where the massacres are occurring. And these are not, Asians emulating black, quote, black culture. That ain't what's happening. These are not Asians emulating so-called urban, street, ghetto, hood culture. That's not what they're doing. You got something else going on here. Now, certainly it does need to be looked at and examined. You do want to get to the bottom of this. I would hate for one of y'all to be walking through Chinatown, Koreatown, and Mr. Wei-Woo, David Wei-Woo sits up here, David Chow sits up here and shows up and start busting. I would hate for one of you to be there. So certainly you do want to be aware of these things and you do want to be cognizant of what's going on. So absolutely, I would want you to be aware and be cognizant. We need to dig to the bottom of this and find out what's going on. We need to dig to the bottom of it and find out what's going on, but everybody needs to be aware. And when these things occur, black people should get the same type of support that everybody else is. So you see, my whole point in saying this to you all was that the AAPI Alliance here, what they let y'all know is that when something happens to Asians, how do you stop the hate? Cut the check. I took you all through the previous hour and 38 minutes to get to this point right here. When you talk to other people, when you discuss fighting hate, when you discuss fighting discrimination, when you discuss that, they like, hey man, put all the condolences and all the good talk to the side. Cut that check. What you saying and doing don't mean nothing. Cut the check. Break bread. Break bread. We don't want to see anybody show up with condolences, pat us on the back, well wishes, damn all that. Cut the check. Miss Kulkarni started her little Stop Asian Hate. They doing their thing. Congratulations. That's great. That's wonderful. But you can see on her website, she's the executive director of AAPI Equity. She said, cut the check. She's like, yeah, we're only a small population out here. We're much smaller than the black population, but we ain't gonna wait around like them and go through integration. Well, we are leapfrogging integration. Cut the check. Cut the check. We talking about go straight to cut the check. Simple as that. Cut the check. Period. We going straight there. When they want to combat Asian hate, the conversation starts and ends with cut the check. When something happens with them, even when you bring up a massacre that involved nothing but Asians, it still is going to come back to the same thing. So I'm saying as black folk, we need to say the same thing there. Don't be shy. Don't be bashful. Do not be shy and do not be bashful. You stand right up and say it exactly the way it is. Stand right up and say it exactly the way it is. Do not be shy and do not be bashful. However, from Meek Mill to Monterey Park, you might feel differently. Therefore, the telephone lines are now open. The number is 646-787-1933. That's 646-787-1933. Your personal access code to the blackest radio program in existence, the only one of its kind on planet Earth today. You are, of course, welcome to join us. That is exactly what we want here. You're definitely welcome to join us. And definitely, for some of the folks there in the chat room, there's a couple of you who you will need to call up. And that is not a request. You will need to call up. The telephone lines are now open, and it is your turn and your time to call, and that is not a request. If you've been instructed to call in, you will have to call in. If you do not, you'll be given a permanent vacation. So you do have a choice in the matter, I suppose, if you wish to call it that. But definitely, you want to be on the line here. Since you had a lot to say in the chat room, it'll be your time to go ahead and get yourself on the line. And you can say it to us directly. No need to be shy about it. So let's go ahead and just get to that. We're going to go ahead and open up the phone lines here. The number is 646-787-1933. That's 646-787-1933. I want to thank you to everybody who has contributed to support tonight's program on PayPal, Cash App, Super Chat. Thank you very much for your support. We appreciate that. Big shout out here to Mr. Bradford. Aren't we all looking for a donation car? Brother, don't you know it? They ain't going to put her in no hoopty either. They're not going to put her in that 1982 Datsun. They ain't going to put her in that. I can assure you. She probably gets a donation car and a mechanic. She probably is going to get a donation car and a competent mechanic to make sure it stays rolling. Let me get caller from area code 646. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where you calling from?
This is Onan from Queens.
Onan from Queens. What's on your mind?
Yeah, so these Asians could kiss my ass as far as I'm concerned, because when you had Latasha Hollins get shot by Zoom Jadu back in 1992, or was it 1991? I can't remember exactly. But I didn't see all this other stuff from, all these Asians talking about, what's offensive and what's not. And, if Joyce Carlin, if she was able to give her just 400 hours of community service, that woman didn't do a day in jail for murdering a 15-year-old black teenager. So, honestly, I don't give a damn about what these Asians...
Peter Liang. They took to the streets to support Peter Liang. Gunning down a Kai Gurley, I think that was a little bit more than offending Mr. Gurley's sensibilities. I think that was a little bit more than an insult to him. But go ahead.
Yeah. No, you're telling the truth. You know what I mean? It's like, it's just ridiculous. But I'm going to land my plane there, so B1.
Thank you very much for giving us a call here tonight. Let me get caller from area code 510. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where you calling from?
This is August from Oakland.
August from Oakland. What's on your mind?
Hey, what's going on? Great broadcast as usual. This one hits close to home because I think I'm from pretty much the epicenter of the so-called, the agenda to put a black face on Asian hate or whatever the case is. Now, I will say people from my neighborhood, which is a predominantly Asian and black neighborhood up in the 20s in East Oakland, in the Funktown area, we got the game early that Asians didn't use banks. And Asian tradition has them walking around with jade and 24-karat necklaces. That's what makes them a victim of some of the property crimes. And that would happen regardless where race they were, in my opinion. But I wanted to point out recently there was a murder for hire in Oakland where the Asian man hired a black dude to kill his wife, shoot his wife, and it looked like it was a purse snatch, and then he shot her or whatever. You could look it up on YouTube.
I saw that story. I saw that story also. So yeah,
right.
It was the same old game there and whatnot. They went in one direction and then found out, oh, wait a minute, this was a setup.
Right, and they do that also with a lot of the property. They're not stupid. They know it's an easy insurance job to break into your own laundromat or do whatever you have to, or hire somebody.
You make an exceptionally good point here. I got to interject here because you're actually making an exceptionally good point, folks. You can look this online. John A. Light talked about this. He was a hitman for he was an Albanian hitman for the Gambino crime family and others, by the way. Sammy the Bull has talked about this. Some of the younger cats have talked about this in the Italian mafia, that nowadays they don't do their own hits. They just hire black kids to do it. They've been to get the heat off of them. They're like, we out to get him, but hire the black kids, and that'll take the attention off of us. And it works.
The other boy, Crazy Joe Gallo used to do the same thing when he hired blacks he was in the pen with to do the hits for him on the New York Mafia. But one more thing before I land my plane. Even when my family, my mother's house got foreclosed on in East Oakland, and they auctioned it off to an Asian man, right? I was staying in it while I was squatting while it was during foreclosure. I was staying in it rent free, but I told the man that I was under lease, to try to squeeze some money out of the situation before they kicked me out of the, expecting them to offer me a couple $1,000s to move out. Instead, I went on a trip to Mardi Gras in New Orleans, and according to the neighbor, car full of black dudes jumped out and they aired a rifle out on the house. And I got pictures and stuff like that. If you text me, I can send you the pictures. But yeah, so it was speculated because I have no idea with whoever my enemies in the street. I never put a face to that crime, but it was speculated that the Asian dude just hired somebody to do it that was black. And I'm going to land my plane right there.
Thank you very much for giving us a call here tonight. He makes a very good point, y'all. I mean, it's very well known in New York, in California. It's very well known in the criminal underworld, the way in which they deflect attention off of themselves and redirect attention away from themselves. They can hire some black folk to commit the crime. So you see a black face there, but it's not being put in its proper context. And I submit to you, Chicago as well, by the way, when they're not wearing black masks, I submit to you, Chicago as well, by the way. You could have one car full of fellas running around making havoc all over the damn place. And if the police are in on it or are condoning it, then they can sit there for years with a reign of terror. Caller from area code 707, you're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Hi, this is Serena from East Palo Alto, Stolen Hill, Silicon Valley of California.
All right, Serena, what's on your mind?
I just want to touch on, Mr. Black, I just want to touch on one thing, and I'm going to do B1 and I'm going to land my plane. The thing about it is they say for black people, if you put it in a book, then it'll be hidden and they'll know no better. If you look at all these organizations that's coming out with anti-this and anti-that and then anti-black, and then we're going back to anti-this. So we need to start paying attention more to the programs and things that's been generated and see if it's discrimination towards us, because anti-black bills should have been done. And I don't care what nobody say. It's all about what they put in them books, them papers, and on that media television. And we not paying attention. We need to go to all their programs and apply.
Well, up until now, like I say, our agenda has been integration. Up until now. In the last decade, you've seen that swept to the side. But we were told that our agenda needs to be integrating everybody. None of these other folk are trying to integrate anything. They want protections.
Mr. Black,
they want
I
finances.
used to be in East Palo Alto.
Slow down. They want protections. Okay, calm yourself down, ma'am. Let's not do that.
Out.
They want protections. Okay. They want financing. But they don't want somebody sitting up here talking about integration. They want to keep their neighborhoods separate. They want to keep their churches and their schools segregated apart. They want to keep it just like that. But what they want are protections, which is exactly what I said. They may not like you because you're Asian, but they can only victimize you if you're poor, if you're unarmed, if you don't have a cohesive economic foundation. That's what allows you to be victimized, is being poor, because you can't control who likes you, but you can control whether or not you're poor or not.
Correct, because East Palo Alto, as we speak, we are fighting to be able to do things, but Silicon Valley is in our backyard. I understand exactly what you're saying, but we had to fight in our community of East Palo Alto, East Menlo Park, to put our Juneteenth back where it's been at since 1949, I guess we'll say, at a park. You know, so I totally get it, but people need to pay attention about these programs and a lot of things that they're doing in the backdrop.
Well, definitely keep your eyes open on that. And thank you very much for giving us a call. Silicon Valley, not to be confused with Silicon Valley. Silicon Valley is where you can get a good deal on implants. That's the breast implant center of the world. Not to be confused with Silicon Valley, which is computer project. Caller Miracle 678. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, did you say 678? Is that me, Black Authority?
All right. You are asleep. Caller Miracle 901. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Oh, my name's Jeff. I'm calling from Memphis, Tennessee.
All right. Jeff from Memphis, what's on your mind?
B1.
Black First Brother, what's on your mind?
Oh, I was just calling in reference to the Asians in our community. They're taking over everything. It's really horrible getting here in Memphis. The population of them is just about to double. They buying up all the old houses, fixing them up, and renting them out to black people. It's really a terrible situation here, but I just want to voice my opinion. B1.
Well, you know, I did my film Gentrified, and I started in Nashville. So I started up the road in Nashville. And if you'll remember, I came across that by accident. I was coming up Interstate 40, and my GPS had stopped working. So I actually had to get off the freeway because my GPS had stopped working. And, you know, I don't really travel to that. Back then, I didn't travel to that part of the country very often. So I had gotten off at what I now know today. I had gotten off the freeway. And today I know it's City View Apartments. Now, there's City View Apartments down in downtown Nashville. City View Apartments. Beautiful place there. It's a beautiful view of downtown. You can see I actually took some shots from there and whatnot. So that was how, and when I was there, I counted all the tower cranes. And I used to work construction, so I know that every time you see a tower crane, it's either putting up something very tall or very heavy. So it's either building a parking garage or it's building a skyscraper. In Nashville, it's building skyscrapers. So by now, they've damn near doubled the city skyline there. And then down the road in Memphis, the folks have been coming to Nashville, but in Davidson County, but down the road in Memphis, like I say, quiet is kept, has been happening there. So you're seeing a lot of building out there, really in Germantown. You're seeing a lot of it going on there, but it is encroaching in those in the exterior and the periphery and coming inward. It's not really coming like most other places coming from the inside out. It's coming from the outside in. So you're absolutely right. And yes, it is that is primarily in Tennessee being driven by newcomers So when you see them talking about immigrants
Yes.
and whatnot, what they're doing is dropping them off where black folk are. Memphis is a black city, but they making
Yes.
sure they dropping it's Memphis, Dallas, Atlanta, Houston, St. Louis. They're dropping them all. They're airdropping them in where black folk are. And what's happening is not an accident. All the more reason for us to get reparations. Cut the check. Caller from area code 323. By the way, hold on. Caller from area code 323. Just wait a moment. I'll get to you in just a moment here. To anybody who says, y'all don't need no reparation, black folks here. Let me tell you something. What is your name? Mr. Black Tardy? Mr. Black Tardy? Yes, my name is Chad. And, I don't really think you people need, like, reparations. I mean, what are you going to do with reparations? What is your name? My name is Phoenicia. I'm from Uganda. Okay, all right. Why do you people need all you're gonna do is spend it on tennis shoes and spinning wheels? No. Most black folk gonna use it to pay the damn rent, to get a car that ain't gonna break down. Most black folk are gonna use it to deal with their immediate issues. Now you actually got something to fight against gentrification with. Because they're airdropping all these other people in and giving them support from day one. Giving them support from day one. So black folk, some of this gentrification you doing, it's gonna start slowing down super heavy when when black folk have been given something to slow it down with. That's gonna be the first order of business. You got kids, you got a family. First order of business is going to be shoring that up. So all these other folk that you've given resources to, now black folk in far and wide will actually have something to fight back with. That's what would happen first and foremost. You're going to see all of a sudden the news folk going to be talking about, well, it's not so much gentrification going on there. Yeah, it wouldn't be so much going on when folks know what's happening. Caller from area code 323. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Hey, good evening, Big Brother Jason. This is Brother Elijah calling out of Valley Stream, Long Island, New York.
All right, Elijah, what's on your mind?
Brother, wonderful broadcast tonight. And my heart goes out to all the Asians who got killed in that mass shooting. With after tonight's program, do you foresee, after everything you reviewed, do you foresee that we will ever get anywhere close to the same protections as the Asians get?
Yes, but they're not going to give it to us. As black people, what has happened is we have been horribly disjointed because we've been facing the wrong agenda. Nobody else, no one else anywhere else was fighting for integration. By AAPI's own admission, they were not fighting for integration. When you go over their story,
Yes,
they weren't fighting for integration, and they're not fighting for integration now. They want money so they can build up low-cost housing for them, services for them, economic opportunities for them, and protections for them. But what they're not talking about is we need money so we can get Walmart to let us shop there. We need money so we can get Nordstrom's to let us shop, Woolworths to let us sit at the counter. We need money. They've never said that, and they're not saying that now. We are the first generation that our goal wasn't integration. After 160 years after slavery, we're the first generation that our goal is not integrating. Nobody can come. They tried it ever since Obama tried that integration thing, and all of us getting together. And we said, no, kiss our ass. We don't want to integrate anything. We want empowerment, and we'll make our own integration. Now the game has changed. So that's why you're seeing things like a reparations task force in California. Take a look at how in New York and San Francisco and other places now. Take a look at how quickly that spun. When you approach them and they know now that there's no place among black folk you can come selling the integration talk and the y'all just need to vote more talk. There's not a receptive audience in black society anymore. Not the old Negroes who still hold on to that, but still hold on for anything. But for the up and coming generation who are now becoming the majority, brother, there's not a receptive audience anymore for, well, don't you want more integration? No. Well, people of color, no. Minorities, no.
Yes, sir.
The word has gotten out. They're not finding receptive people anymore for the trick bag talk. So now you got to come with the literals and tangibles. They're going to put on a brave face like, nope, we're not going to do that. But that's hard selling. They're already showing you stand firm, and they're going to fold. Thank you very much for giving us a call. Let me get caller from area code 702. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Hello, Jason. I'm Josiah from Las Vegas.
All right, Josiah from Vegas, what's on your mind?
You said that you're investigating the context of pleasing those that harbor animosity toward you. But to provide some context, it's obvious that Negroes around the world are treated unfairly. And a lot of people may have asked themselves, like, what's so bad about being black? And it's not because we're black, it's because we're the descendants of the Israelites. There's religion, and then there's history and truth. And when we read the Bible in its correct context as a historical document and identify who in the world today is the descendants of which nation, everything makes sense. It says that the curse for serving other gods would include the Israelites being sent out on ships and serving other nations, and that those nations would conspire crafty counsel against them so they would be a nation no more. Everything in the black community, you'll notice that it's not just white, it's all of them, including the other black nations of the Hamites. And all of the curses that were listed in Deuteronomy 28 are all the same problems that the black community deals with today. Everything from black women being masculine to having our identity stripped from us, slavery, sickness, our oppressors killing us and not holding themselves guilty.
You were saying?
No, that's all.
How old are you, kid?
25.
Okay. Do yourself a favor. When you finish reading your Bible, and I'm not against people reading the Bible, but when you finish reading your Bible, what exactly is it you expect us to do? Let's just say we all agree with your interpretation of whatever you think the Bible says. Okay, fine. We all agree with your interpretation. Now that we all agree with you, what are you going to do? What do you want us to do now?
To return to our original culture by keeping the commandments and serving our own God.
So you think that is what will protect us against white supremacy?
No, but that's what triggers the tribulation so that we get our kingdom next.
Okay, so you're saying that this is a punishment from God on us.
Yes, because we were supposed to be his only people. He was supposed to be our only God.
Okay. Can I ask you an honest question here? I'm not kidding. Are you like a Jehovah's Witness, Hebrew Israelite? What are you?
An Israelite.
Okay. Did you grow up with your mother and your father in the home? Are they married?
Yes.
Okay. Is your father or your mother Hebrew Israelites also?
Yes.
Okay, so both your mother and your father are Hebrew Israelites. You are a Hebrew Israelite. And one last question here. Seriously. What dress size do you wear?
A 12.
How tall are you?
5'7".
I thought so. All right, thank you very much for giving us a call. Please call us again. Yeah. I pretty much figured. Jason, why are you asking about dress size? Why are you asking that right there? I had a feeling. I had a hunch. It was just a feeling, just a hunch. She ultra religious. She 25 years old. She probably hefty built. I had a feeling. I had a feeling. Let me investigate a little bit more. Yeah, there it is. There it is. There it is. All right. James Mitchell, brother, the same thing to you. When y'all get finished quoting the Bible, what do you want to do? We need to return to our roots. All right. And God will stop the tribulation. So God's punishing us. It's not white. Did y'all get that? Not white supremacy punishing us. It isn't. No, Jason, you must understand. The problem is not the white supremacists. The problem is God's punishment on you. It's not the white supremacists. God's punishment. All right. Caller from area code 706. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where you calling from?
It's Beaumonte calling from Augusta, Georgia.
Okay, Beaumonte, what's on your mind?
Yeah, I'm listening to you, man, and I was having an epiphany as I'm listening to you. I love the show tonight. You actually really enlightened me on a bunch of stuff that I really would not have looked up under and really wouldn't have thought about it in that perspective. But as you speak, I'm thinking of things that happened in the 60s and 70s from women's lib, and what it seems like right now is AAPI is taking. Well, I don't know if it's AAPI taking the blueprint or if it's the government saying that this blueprint worked. This is the same thing that we're doing. This same thing that we did to black people, and they tried to have this movement, and then we divided and conquered. And I understand how the buffer class works and everything, but it just seems like they're repeating the same thing. Like they're repeating the same format on different communities to see if they have because our community, the black community, it seems like they want us to either be obsolete because they know that we, as John Henry Clark told us, we don't have any allies. And I think the majority of us, well, I would say the majority of us, a lot of us, at least to be one, understand that we have no allies. But I think that they're using the same method, kind of like a Cointelpro type deal to kind of reinvest and kind of do the same thing over and over again.
Well, just understand, Cointelpro never ended. COINTELPRO never ended.
Exactly.
There's never been one confirmation anywhere that COINTELPRO ever ended. So there was never confirmation that it's when it started, and there's never been confirmation that it ended. So right now, even if you want to claim that COINTELPRO as you knew it ended, we all understand that these things get reclassified into new names. So in reality, at the very least, you know that it's government policy. I mean, since the Bush administration and 9/11, we know it's government policy to infiltrate organizations, monitor what's happening online, listening into your phone calls, determining dissidents, no-fly lists, social threats, public threats. It's that social policy. So to be totally honest with you, the entire machine is COINTELPRO now. The entire machine is. It's not just one department and J. Edgar Hoover. The whole damn machine is COINTELPRO now. Thank you very much for giving us a call. And COINTELPRO is government policy now. It's not just one program, it's policy. It's policy. Caller from area code 434, you're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Hi, Jason. This is Linwood. I'm calling out of Charlottesville, Virginia.
All right, Linwood out of Charlottesville. What's on your mind?
Yes, sir. Thank you. Like the show, but I have to say that what some people are saying is incorrect. Neely Fuller Jr.'s code book talked about this a great deal, how the white supremacists will use their racial exhibits, a.k.a. racial showcasing. They will showcase a hand number of non-whites, or they will use those non-whites. And this is no secret, that those so-called people that are called Asians, they have been used as a buffer since the civil rights movement. The white supremacists need to take the focus off the Black Power movement or whatever, so they put these people up front. They put the Bruce Lees up front and says, look here, there's no racism here. We got this yellow person here who runs the convenience store. Or we got this token mammy down here. He does this, whatever. But that's by design. These things are all by design, ladies and gentlemen. And from the sound of my voice, people need to really hear what's going on here. These people are only good to the white supremacists as long as they're aiding and abetting it. for material social benefits. But the moment these white people don't need them anymore, you'll start seeing what's happening. Just look what happened when Donald Trump asked Wendy Long, ask China. What do you mean by that, President Trump? Why did you have to say that to me? He's telling you, you're a rice nigger. You know.
Well, here's the thing. The thing is, you're dealing with okay, slow down. The thing is, you're dealing with assimilationist cultures, and that's a very powerful thing. Asia has always been an assimilationist culture. So when the strong man shows up, then that tends to be what turns the tide there and bends things there. So in American society, what you're having are this dichotomy between those who identify with white supremacy and those who they don't necessarily identify with it, but they still want to have a separate culture of their own. So the real thing is, where does that leave you? As black people, that leaves you on the outside looking in, no matter who it is. So you've got those who are either going to directly align with the dominant society, or those who see themselves as a separate entity who merely works in partnership with anybody, with none of them having any special affinity for us whatsoever. At the end of the day, that's the thing that matters.
Let me respond to you on that one, because you made a great point there. Black people have always been the confused people about how white supremacy, racism, what it is and how it works. We can talk about it many miles till Sunday, but we don't understand how this thing works and how the smartest and most powerful white people make it work each and every day. They don't have to stand on top of black people or other non-white people. They don't have to. They have a system set up where even the white people who are not so smart and not so powerful aid and abet in the process.
Well,
now,
that's because you have a code of it. White supremacy is a code, and all the white society is already on code. They understand that. They have these conversations, and the other folks talked about that. They have debriefings at the dinner table. They have conversations every day. As he said, you couldn't have white supremacy work in such an organized fashion if people were not being taught. It couldn't work that way. That's not something you just fall into by osmosis. They're being taught. The whole goal is when you show up, they deny its existence. But it couldn't work this cohesively and effectively if it wasn't organized and if you weren't being formally trained, this thing couldn't work as effectively as it does.
You're correct.
Thank you very much for giving us a call. Like to be correct. Let me get caller from area code 929. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Good evening, Jason. This is Daryl from Chicago.
Daryl from Chicago. What's on your mind?
Jason, another excellent broadcast as always, and you hit the nail on the head, everything, and tonight. And thank you for the in-depth analysis, tremendous in-depth analysis, because a lot of times I know I've been out in California and I saw a lot of these buildings with those logos on it that you showed tonight on the broadcast, and a lot of those areas over there are all Asian. I just drove through that area because I had some relatives on the other side of that part, but I just noticed that. And, now that I see these areas and I see what they're talking about, they didn't, and like you said, they don't want none of us in there. They don't want none of us around or anything like that. And we should just keep our foot solely on cutting the check and getting everything that we said, what we supposed to get, period. Now just land my plane right there. Thank you much. B1, everybody.
Black First, brother, thank you very much for giving us a call here tonight. And definitely going forward, I want to go through this exploration of this because I wanted you all to be aware of what we're dealing with and going forward to know what's actually happening here across the board, how it links up, who's involved, who are the players, what are they getting. And this is just scratching the surface. This is just one. This is just one and just one accounting of it. We've barely scratched the surface of what's happening. And that's what we're up against. We're going to take one more phone call here. Let me get caller from area code 937. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where you calling from?
My name is Calvin from Jacksonville.
Calvin from Jacksonville. What's on your mind?
Yeah, it seems like whites are allowing themselves to be domesticated by Asians out of spite for black people. I don't know. Something like that.
That's not what's happening.
That's all I got to say.
That's not what's happening. This is all a part of the plan. They've called in reinforcements. This is the buffer class strategy. White people are controlling their every move. Asians ain't setting up shop anywhere that they're not allowed to. The illegals and Latinos are not from Mexico are not setting up shop anywhere they're not allowed to. When they did the wet foot, dry foot policy in Florida, remember at the time, Florida was still just a backwater state in the 60s and whatnot. It wasn't what you see today with Miami Vice and certainly not what it is today. So they controlled where they are. So the whole thing, understand, they're being allowed to do things, but their movements are being controlled. You literally have Joe Biden on the one hand and Ron DeSantis and Governor Greg Abbott on the other, in the other hand, literally deciding where these people go, literally taking them where they want them to be, literally. So just understand, this is not, it looks like chaos to the unassuming eye because it's supposed to look like chaos to you. It's supposed to look that way. But let's just be very, very clear. You're seeing the strategy in place. I submit to you that Kamala Harris's presence is your concrete proof of the strategy and its effectiveness. This Asian woman who identifies as Asian everywhere else, except when it's time to stand in front of black folk. She does everything that black folk ask for, she does for Asians. But anything that we ask for, what she does for Asians, she doesn't do for us. That's your proof positive that strategy of doing this all this time, they've always known who they were bringing over here. They've always known what they were doing. And I will say one more thing in regard to Kamala Harris that dovetails off our elder Neely Fuller. When Kamala Harris's Jamaican father, I'm gonna say it. When Kamala Harris's Jamaican father got into bed with Kamala Harris's Brahmin mother, he hopped out the bed thinking that he was a world traveler, that he was better than other Negroes. While they were out there while black Americans and foundationals was getting lynched, he was sitting up here laid up and booed up with this Indian chick straight from India. And he got out the bed confused. And his daughters are now expressing to you how confused their father was. I submit to you that what they are today is more of a testament of the father than the mother. Because the mother was obviously running the yard as far as their identity was concerned. Two chicks who are obviously some high yellow girls, and yet they identify on papers, documents, culturally, and everything else. They identify as Asian. So I submit to you that the government has always known that by putting these elements in proximity to black folk, they put a wall between them and white people, but they put them in close proximity to black folk. And at best, you get economically devastated. At worst, you get culturally confused terminally. And next thing you know, you hopping out the bed, you confused, but your Indian wife isn't confused. She raised her daughters to see themselves not as mixed. She didn't raise them to see themselves as mixed. She raised them to see themselves as Indians and as Asians. And their father's presence didn't do anything to blunt that. I submit to you that strategy, the buffer class strategy, has been rolling long in advance, and it's already bearing fruit, which is why we are being so strident and so strict now about calling it out for what it is. Kamala Harris's father might have been confused. We're not. Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. Brothers and sisters from around the world, as I say here, definitely it's not a good thing to see, and certainly we want to make sure that folk are safe. And we want to deal with these things equitably across the board because that's the only way you stop that from happening. That's the only way they stop that from happening. And maybe some more questions Maybe asking some more questions about who's over here. What are their intentions? What are they doing? What are they happening? These aren't young Asian folk out here doing this. These are older ones. What's really going on? 2 incidents. I wonder, are we going to find out that this was yet a repeat? That this is a Chinese communist over here shooting up folk? I don't know. I'm saying we need to keep asking questions. We need to keep asking questions. Everyone needs to ask questions. We're going to go ahead and wrap things up here tonight. If you are new here to the Black Channel, welcome to the Haven of Intelligent Black Thought. We do this every weekend. Click that red subscribe button. Click that yellow notification bell. Join us each and every time we're here. If you haven't been to our website, blackchannelfilms.com, you want to go there and check out our groundbreaking, best-selling documentary work, 7 a.m., Gentrified, Race War, all available on DVD and streaming. Go to blackchannelfilms.com. That is blackchannelfilms.com. I want to thank you all for joining us here tonight. Thank you to everyone who has contributed to support tonight's program on PayPal, CashApp, Super Chat. Thank you very much for your support. It's very much appreciated. And this concludes tonight's broadcast of The Black Channel. I am your host, your brother, your humble servant, the Black Authority. And until next time, my brothers and my sisters from around the world, remember, Black is the future, and the future is uncompromising.